I'm Cyprian Omoding. I work with Edmund Rice Center Nairobi, and I'm leading advocacy and community outreach, and especially reaching out and advocating for people with disabilities. I think we realize that in the community, people with disabilities do not have a voice. And we focus that so that we can, one, give them a voice and also build their own capacity to begin to do what we call self-advocacy. They begin to advocate for the rights of the persons with disabilities themselves. That adds more oomph to understanding of disability, and also when a face of disability person is seen and as they speak for the same persons, then it resonates with the community and the people. Advocacy for persons with disability is a focus because we realize rights that have been highlighted previously are for normal people. And this group of people are left, and most of the children are locked in the houses, and especially in Kibra. So we decided that the first place, let's give a voice to these persons that have been left behind by society and government, so that now government will begin to refocus its interest and also bring them on board to begin to be seen and also to be given an opportunity. And at the center, we always say that we don't want you people to sympathize with persons with disability. We want you to give an opportunity, because all of them have giftings. If they are awakened, these persons will do just like any other person. And disability is not a sickness. Disability is a condition. If properly managed, then these persons can harness the talent, the gifts, and give back equally just like any other person. The first thing that we do is we go to the community first. We change the attitude of community, not seeing a disability as a curse, but as a condition. That's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is to reach the parents, so that the parents can also change their mindset and accept that there is a person that is able differently in the family. And when they accept that, we take them through the stages. There's a grieving stage where they don't accept that there's a child of disability until they accept that there's this person, though they have special needs around them. So in that, it becomes much easier. Then we have a center where these kids come, and now we work on the child. We've worked in the community, we've worked with the parent, and now we're working with the child to now go deep into the child. What can they do? What they can do, what limits do they have, and then focus on the limits that they can work on and become persons normally in the community. At least adults with disability can self-advocate, yet children, they can't. So you have to do double work. One, focus on the child to make them, that's what my friends always call it, daily living activities. So you have to teach them daily living activities. We have to teach them speech. We have to teach them numeracy, literacy, and all those things, so that they now after that is when they become, either we advocate through the parents, I might give them more time, 2 to 3 years before they begin. Some of them may come out and begin to self-advocate. So it's a very delicate balancing between how giving them the identifying the gifts, what do they like, and nurturing that which they like. Every disability has a different voice of disability. But at the beginning of it, you have to deal with all the 13 types of disabilities. That's why whenever we go, like now, we give us this platform, we encourage parents bring every disability for assessment, so that when professional assessment is done, is when they are assigned to specific professionals that can help them to address specific needs of every child. Advocating for other persons is much easier, because you just have to give them the skills, reassure them that their message can be passed out there, and that's it all. But these ones, other than advocating for them, you also have to work around their needs. So that one is like a two swords. Some of them may not reach that potential, because there are some severe disabilities that can never, but the few that can be turned around and accept. And also what we always do is like, we have a center, and we only look at the government policy. Today we should be having centers that are transitional, meaning you bring people together to you for a limited time of number of years, then you take them back to the community. So sometimes if you've not worked with the community, then it becomes very difficult. You've worked on them, they go back to the community, they regress. So you have also to work with the community, so that by the time you transit them to society, the society has accepted them, and then the regression is minimized. as you've all seen, that government has always had problems with the civil society organizations, and all of us are blanketed to find that we are animating communities against the government. Yet there are some civil society organizations that do special work, especially like what we are doing. Our work is to build the capacity of the child, build the capacity of the parent, build the capacity of the society, but government is not taking, from my scorecard, has not done much. Like today, we are talking about the Children Act 2022 that has just been passed in June last year. In it, it said that the government should set up what we call welfare funds to support both children and children with disabilities. But to date, there's no framework how that is going to be realized. So in itself, you find that government has put policies, like even let's get back. The Children Act came 2001. Today, if you go to every sub-county, you will get this an Office of Children Department of Children Services. It may be having just one staff employed by government, all others are volunteers. So apart from deploying personnel, you would get that those offices do not have funds to run. So sometimes it's the civil society organization will come to support the government so that certain programs can be rolled down to the people. So in itself, it find offices have been created, the constitution is there, the Act of Parliament has been passed, a few individuals have been appointed to work on behalf of government, but there are no resources. So in itself, so actualizing the full potential of that office becomes so difficult. So my call today and now is to ask government that once you create offices, follow with the human resource. After following with the human resource, follow with the finances, because there's nothing that happens without finances. So government, if you give me a scorecard between 1 to 10, I would give government a 3. I've seen progression from what had been done before, like during the time of Kibaki, maybe it was not more visible. Uhuru Kenyatta did some. Even we realized that in some important portfolios, there are people with disabilities. Like there was a PS for disabilities, there are a number of people, but it's not much. And the constitution says it should be 30%. In every appointment, 30% should go with the persons with disabilities. But let's go there, not. And even the persons, there's a National Disability Council for Persons with Disability. It has also not done its work. To me, they have also abdicated their duty because it's not more representative. They've also not done a lot of informing and sensitization of how the rights of persons with disability should be respected and enhanced. You have to turn your mind and accept that these persons with able differently have special gifts in them that they can offer. Once you've done a mindset, then there's reading. You have to understand what laws are around that. Like you talk about the Constitution, Article 54 of the Constitution expressly talks around issues of disability. Then there's a Disability Act that also was passed. So if you understand now around that, is now one who begin to advocate. Advocating is the passion. If you have a passion to add a voice to someone, and today we are not talking about helping them to talk on their behalf. We are talking about animating them to begin to advocate for themselves. So if you do that, it's much easier. And like when you want to do, because advocacy itself is also risky. Today, like I've talked a few things about government. Government do not like that, but you have to be ready to be reprimanded. You have to be ready to be incarcerated. You have to be ready for everything, because there's one person you're giving a voice to and for. Today, you go to the radio and you spoke with people with disabilities. There's still the stereotyping. There's still, especially like even now, we have 89 parents who have children with disability. And whenever we call them for Parents' Day, because we always have Parents' Day every term, in that you would find men have not taken up this challenge. You will get maybe 3 parents out of 89 who come forth. And for 2023, what I've really focused on is we are going to advocate so that the parents, male parents, can come out, support their counterparts, partners, those are women, and also support their own children. Women have, because the women always don't run away from their children, whichever condition is, but men always run away. So my call in this interview is, can women stand up and take our responsibility? Because it's not only a responsibility of a woman to take care of the child, it's our own responsibility. Collectively, we can mitigate one, because part of disability always occurs during, either before the pregnancy, during pregnancy, or after pregnancy. So if, for example, as a man, if I am on the forefront of going for tests before we go what you call baby making, I take care of my wife giving what you call balanced diet during the pregnancy, then automatically you're going to mitigate the disability. So are we going to take that role as men? I'm with you in this. Support yourself. If you need information, there's a lot literature on online. There's also literature that can be go through some of us who got some interaction, that you understand what is disability, how do you mitigate disability earlier, and it becomes much easier. Like today, there are kids who come to us who cannot even hold a pen. After 3 years, we find they can fit in a mainstream school, so we refer them back to the mainstream. So creating institutions that foster and help persons with disability is a step in the right direction, and also to begin to animate communities to understand what is disability, what kind of disabilities, how they understand disability, why should they take out their children instead of locking them in the houses, to bring them out, because there's somebody out there who's willing to help, either through physiotherapy, through numeracy, through the number of programs that could be given to these children to become persons and also realize their talent. Like, remember this in a presidential election that we had, there's a disabled person who was vying for the presidency. If that person had not been brought out to go for education, he wouldn't be having that synergy to begin looking for how to just begin to run for the presidency in itself. Yeah, passion. If you're passionate about persons, like let me give an example how the center came. Guys went to work in the community and realized that there are kids who are not brought out, who are locked in the houses. And also because of stereotypes, some of them, you'd get, Kibera, it has very small aisles. So even these kids, in terms of just walking around, is not allowed. It's like you are going to, even to play with kids that are normal. People used to say, if you play with my kid, you are going to transmit disability to my child. You find that very crazy. And sometimes now, when you begin to listen to the parents, some of them would break down, some of them would feel like their self-esteem went down together with the kids. So we decided that why don't we have just a daycare center where these people get to a space to play and have a meal. That was the basic, how it began. It just began, come play and have a meal. So along the way, it has developed now. Instead of just bring them out to play and have a meal, now we're having them some numeracy so that they can see this is 10 bob, this is 30 bob, this is 100 bob, this is what. That's what. So anybody, as long as you have a passion, anybody can begin to advocate for these people. And anybody can pick up and say, by the way, I want to do, even there's today online advocacy, where you can just use the YouTube channels just to reach out to a person and tell them, by the way, we can all advocate and speak for and with the persons who have disability. So it's not a must for you to even to create what? To have a center. You can even do it in social media. You can begin telling people, like today I advocate for people posting their children on social media, because there will be a time when me and you will be taken to court for having posted a picture of either this person with disability or your child without their consent. Remember in Kenya, there's somebody who went to court asking those ones, why did you kill Jesus? So 20 years from now, the human rights are talking about disability would have improved. And once improved, it also comes with its own challenges.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
On the next episode of The Grind.
My name is Connie Tipis. I run a business called Double D's Lingerie. We specialize in innerwear and swimwear for busty ladies. That's everybody from cup size D to K cup. We really struggled to purchase bras when we were growing up. So it was just a thing of, it was a joke. We're like, you know what, why don't we start this on our own and start creating these things?
Monday, 6:30 p.m.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
I am in government when it comes to inclusion. Today the world should be inclusion, because when a child with disability would see another normal child running with a ball, they get challenged. They would also want to wake up and go for that ball. So taking them aside is in itself discriminative. That's why even us at the center, we have given it a transitional center. You come there for a specific time, we work on the giftings, and we reintroduce you to the community, or we take you to a normal school. In fact, today I was somewhere else saying that another challenge I'm giving government is government should begin units, disability units in every public school, every public secondary school, every public university, so that these kids are going back to work alongside their peers. I think that's the best way to go. Inclusion is the new game in town. We should make what we call user-friendly institutions where persons of disability can have an aisle where they can easily, for mobility purposes, use maybe washrooms and everything that is self-encompassing, so that these persons is easier for them to get in and get out. So that's what institutions need to do. Or the lifts should be also, there should be lifts for persons with disability. Aisles should be there for persons with disability, classes, sitting, maybe chairs and everything else. That is the best way, so that you can make their mobility much easier, and that would help them to do things for themselves. Because even today we discourage people doing things kids can do for themselves. We always have sessions, especially with their pre-vocation. We always have sessions with them. One, to make them realize what is theirs. What is their private area? How do they identify they are being abused? How can they report? So we use both sign language and others can verbalize it, because advocating for disability is all of us. It is the person that has disability, it is me and you, it is the parents, it is the community. All of us holistically can begin to advocate for the rights of the person with disability. I think the law, disability is on all groups of people, whether low income, middle or higher income. But the only thing is that those who are of low income, because one of financial status, many of them may not mitigate this thing as early as possible. Because you understand, a middle income person would go do testing and maybe pregnancy scans and that bit, so that they can notice this thing much earlier and they will fix at that level. While also in low income, they may not access such facilities. Some of them may not go to hospital for prenatal or postnatal or everything else. So you find their prevalence becomes much higher, and also diet issues. Because disability, I'm told almost 70% of disability is caused either before the pregnancy, during the pregnancy, and that management after the pregnancy. So if that is done by a middle or higher income, this person with the informal settlements may not have it. So that's why we have many children in informal settlements having disabilities of various disabilities. That's the first one. The second bit of it is management. Once the kid has got disability, because they do not have funds to react into that disability and respond much quickly, so disability may become severe because of less management of that kind of disability. That's why they are prevalent in low income than in high income, because either it's noticed early, the management is super in high income than in low income areas. So working with the schools, so that one, raise awareness and they get aware that disability is a condition and it cannot be transmitted to them, so that when these kids are brought to these schools, they can embrace them. That's the first thing. The second bit of it, also tell them disability is a club. Anybody can become disabled at any time of their, even right now we'll be speaking here, you may walk there and you slip and you get what? Your leg or something happens to you. So we have to prepare everybody to be prepared that disability is a club that anybody can join at any time. Two is the mindset, the attitude, that when these kids are brought back to the mainstream, they can embrace it. Because if they don't embrace the kids, the disability can turn to severe. Even if you had worked on it, because of self-esteem issues and also not acceptability, then they can go back to where? To square zero. So we also have to work with the schools. And we also request government that this session should be done. That's why I even say, like even when you're teaching, when you're training teachers, there should be a unit on disability, because these kids are going to be to the mainstream schools. If teachers are not willing or ready to handle them, then even what would have done would still be zero work. Disability preparation should be done to everybody, either in universities, in colleges, in KMTCs, and everywhere, so that everybody's mind is prepared. At some point, you may have a neighbor who's disabled, you may have a child who's disabled, you may have a cousin, you may go to the matatu, enter the matatu and find somebody disabled, so that we all learn how to handle persons able different from us. And in fact, there's a problem also we are dealing with mental health. So that these people come, it's called pastoral care. So that they also come and they'll be taken through the motions to begin one to understand it. Just as we began, I say this, accepting that this person able difference in self is tough. It's just like you've lost something. This woman has been there for 9 months. She's expecting to get a normal kid, but guess somebody, a child able differently. So we have to walk them through the one. They should accept, grieve that what I received is not what I'd expected. Accept. And then when they accept, even when they are willing now to bring out the kid. Otherwise, they would always tie the kid on the bed so that the kid doesn't come with. So there's a journey that we must walk, all the parents, the community, and when the child is of age, also to make the kid accept their condition themselves. There are two different entities. That's why we're talking about this can be acquired during the pregnancy, and especially handling of the expectant mother is very important. Diet is very important, but also those ones I said, all of us is a club. All of us can acquire a disability. I'm seeing you the specs. That means you might have acquired some disability or you were born with it. So all of us have a kind of disability. The percentage may be different, the type may be different, but all of us at some point somewhere may be going in that direction. There's even a disability acquired because of age, what we call the senior citizens. So that's why all of us have to be prepared. You may have a senior citizen in the house, how to handle them may be different, and we also give them an opportunity to do it, to accept themselves that disability acquired and how best to continue it from there. We are still at a very, I guess maybe we are still at 20% as a country, but we are moving somewhere better. Because there are times where I'm just looking at the parking lot, you have a disability parking space. Previously it wasn't there. So now I think we are moving towards accepting disability and also accepting inclusion, but we are quite far from that. Today we have a disability bill, in fact an act of parliament that talks about disability. When the amendment to Children Act 2001 was done, we made a petition to Parliament, which they mainstreamed. Today, if you look at the Children Act 2022, it has a section of disability, how to respect disability, what kind of disability, what should be done to disability. So we are going somewhere, but we're not yet there. That's why some of us are still advocating, and we're doing both local advocacy, national, and also doing international advocacy. As we're speaking right now, I'm preparing a statement to the UN through our brothers in Geneva that the government has amended the Children Act 2001. Now it is 2022. But what we call the welfare fund has not been set. So we're trying to pressure both the county and national government should set funds aside to help persons with disability go to school, get medication. In fact, another thing we're talking about is zero rating all things medication for persons with disability, how they can get wheelchairs and other things. That's the statement we're preparing right now. In February, in March, I think the presentation will be in March. We shall be making that presentation in UN through our affiliate in Geneva. In fact, the core mandate of what we are doing is supposed to be done by those entities. So I expect them to come out more vigorously, go to informal settlements, because that's where disability and the literacy levels are lower. They should go there and advocate, because these people cannot get phones. If they have phones, they have other things to do other than reading about disability. So ADPK and other institutions should become more strong, do a lot of ICU materials that can be read out there, come to radio and advocate, come to community radios and advocate, so that many people can get information about disability. How can they get services? Because when there are funds that are supposed to be got by persons with disabilities, every year when the budget is read, there's some percentages have been set aside to help people with disabilities. But do they get it? Are they aware that these funds are set aside? Where can they access them? So that information that should go out there to help persons with disability. It's because of the mindset, the attitude. We still feel disability is a disease, yet it's a condition. So until all of us will begin to accept, to embrace what is disability, it will be too. And then that takes me to the point where it's like today we believe disability is equal to women. That's why men take off. Yet this condition can be got from air. I can be transmitter of that condition. A woman can be transmitter of this condition, and are coming together. We support each other and mitigate it. So I expect. In fact, we were running last year
accelerating acceptance of persons with disability in elections, so that one, they are given opportunity, two, they also are allowed to vote, either to buy or to vote. And when you go that direction, you will get many persons with disability. If they win those seats, they will be the ones that are going to self-advocate for others. Let's begin small. We cannot do big advocacy. We can begin in your house, in that matatu, in the place of work. Let's begin small. If all of us are beginning from the space that we have, like you here advocating for that parking space for persons with disability, disability-friendly chairs, disability-friendly space, it would help. Let's not begin bigger, let's begin smaller. And if all of us are going to begin smaller, it will change. And every day begin to believe that disability cannot be transmitted. It's not like a communicable disease. When we do that, we can mingle and give space to persons with disability instead of putting them the other side, we are this side. I think that would. Second bit of it is government. Government is the duty bearer. They should come strong and advocate for persons with disability and give them platform so they can go and share more materials about disability. And the funding should also be reaching the people with disabilities, because there's a lot of funding. The government has money, but inakufanga tu huko kwa ofisi. How can it trickle down to the person in Kibra, in Mukuru, in Korokocho, in Kangware? That will make my work much easier. Thank you so much